欢迎脸书行动产品副总裁 Facebook Business Development Mobile Product Partnership Vice President Mr. John Lagerling. Welcome. Good evening.
What an amazing night, and so happy to be here. My name is John Lagerling, and I'm Vice President at Facebook for Business Development. But more than anything, I'm at Facebook to help connect the world. What is Facebook? Facebook is a place where anyone and everyone can share anything with anyone in the world. That's our mission, and that's what we're going to keep doing. And why are we doing this? We want to make the world more connected, more open. If we do that, and people can connect both on an intellectual level and an emotional level, we believe that will change the world, and change the world in a good way. Now, you're all familiar here with Facebook. Taiwan is actually one of the most Facebook-connected countries in the world. And I'm very proud to be here with all of you. Thank you for using Facebook. And we also have Instagram that joined the Facebook family, but that's just the beginning. What you see here behind me is the 10-year plan, our roadmap, our not-so-secret master plan for how to make the world more connected and more open. What we aim to do is to build the next generation technologies to get more people connected to the internet through their phones or otherwise, and to help them get more closer together with the latest interface technologies. And obviously, virtual reality is a very large part of that, and I will talk about that today. But before we can get to virtual reality, we have to think about how to connect the next billions of people. Everyone in here in this grand arena are well connected with your phones, connected to networks. Whenever I get to a hotel, yes, I have some water, but then I have some Wi-Fi. Always. We're all connected. However, there's still billions of people who don't have connectivity. The other thing that we're working on is artificial intelligence. Once everything is connected and we have all of this information being shared, we will have to use better technologies to refine the information and make it easier to digest, make it more useful. I'll talk about that as well. And finally, once we are all connected, how can we get even closer to each other and understand each other's environments, situations, and whatever we want to share? And we're going to talk about that in virtual reality. Let's start with connectivity. This is Facebook's view of the world today, the connected world. 4G connections. Actually, I think Taiwan should be more yellow than that. It looks a bit too blue. Probably outdated data. 3G connections, but most importantly, 2G connections, which is barely useful for internet connectivity. Everything else you see is not connected truly on this grand Earth, and we see that as an issue. Let's look at the southern part of Africa, namely South Africa, Mozambique, and Madagascar. The blue and red portions you see here is connected people. We went further. We didn't just want to look at where people are connected. We wanted to look at where people actually are. And all of the orange parts that you see of Mozambique and Madagascar, those are all people, but people without connection if you compare the two maps. And that's something that we need to solve together. So how are we going to do that? Let's look at Earth. Just looking at the southern tip of Africa, not sufficient. We have grand parts of the Earth that we didn't really know which parts were connected or not. This is the previous level of granularity. You could look at just large chunks of land. But now we have better technologies. Using Facebook AI, partnering with the leading satellite imagery companies in the world, we've been able to look at and analyze truly where people live. Where are people's dwellings? Where are their houses? So now we have a very fine-printed map of where people live, but where there's no connection. This is how we are going to try to contribute to connecting these parts of the world. Because mobile technology alone is not economically viable today to connect every person on Earth. Facebook has made significant investments in millimeter wave technology and UAVs, which are unmanned aerial vehicles, which I'll talk about further. The idea of this is to fly these big aircraft over regions where it's not really viable to build base towers to cover all the land. And finally, we're also working on satellite technology. We have developed an optical way for optical laser technology to have these aerial vehicles communicate with each other, to create an internet in the sky that we can beam down to these areas. This can also be used for disaster areas if ground networks are unconnected for some reason. Let's talk about Aquila. Aquila is our unmanned aerial vehicle. It has about the wingspan of a Boeing 737. It's all driven by solar power, and it first flew earlier this year. This is a video of that. This is our first successful flight, and it was successful. Aquila is going to be able to fly for months on end over previously unconnected areas. It has the weight roughly of a Toyota Prius car, and it uses about the same energy as a microwave oven. And we're really excited about this project. Our goal is that the connected world will be even more connected. We are going to partner with mobile operators, with other companies in the connectivity space to realize this vision. And we will not give up until the last people on Earth are truly connected to each other. Now, with all this information available, we need better technologies to parse through all the information available to us. You all in here, you generate a ton of content, and we need better ways to sort this for you. So we have developed artificial intelligence to understand what it is that is being posted and how to pull that together into a feed that makes sense for you. Every day, more than 1 billion stories are posted. More than 100 million hours of video is viewed per day. And more than 2 billion photos are shared every day. Facebook has 1.7 billion users, and almost 1.6 billion of those users are on a mobile phone. Mobile technologies, connectivity is the core of this vision. Now, with AI and artificial intelligence, we're able to understand this data better. We cannot use humans to sort through all this information. So we have efforts around computer vision, natural planning and reason that I will show you examples of now. Let's take this picture, for example. Now, it takes a while for a human brain, but not a lot of time, maybe a few milliseconds to analyze what's in this picture. Previously, it would take a long time for a computer to try to understand what's going on. But today, we have segmentation where we immediately can identify features in close to real time. We've made 60% improvement only in the last couple of quarters in the speed of these AI algorithms. And after we've segmented, we can identify what the objects are. We can also use this technology to put words on things for people who have no sight. So a lot of people who are otherwise challenged will be able to get help by artificial intelligence. I'd like to show an example of how these artificial intelligence technologies all come together. You're going to see an example of natural language processing, vision, which is analyzing what's going on, and then an understanding of the context. This might look simple for a human to do, but we've now been able to teach computers how to do this, and it's absolutely groundbreaking. Let's take a look.
Is there a baby in the photo?
Yes.
Where is the baby standing?
Bathroom.
What is the baby doing?
Brushing teeth.
As you can see, there are different probabilities of what's going on in this scene. And the AI is able to parse through and look through, sort through the different possibilities and bring up to the top the one that's most likely. This is actually groundbreaking technology, and I think it's going to serve us all really well as we start having deeper conversations and we're able to get more support from computers. Now, what does this have to do with VR, you might think? Well, once you are in virtual reality, if you're able to have a conversation with that world that you will be in, it's going to be a very effective way for you to interact with data, information, and each other. As many of you are aware of, Facebook has been partnering with Samsung, and we've also in-house built virtual reality headsets. Gear VR is now in the hands of millions of people. We've finally brought virtual reality to the masses. But this is still very early days, but the early signs are very promising. And what you can see to the right is, of course, our Oculus Rift device that is hooked up to a very high-power personal computer. You also have the Vive, of course. This is a blue ocean where we're all pushing different companies to bring out the best in virtual reality, and we're building this market together. Let's look at the track record for our very portable mobile VR to date. We have hundreds of applications. We have more than 1 million people doing things in virtual reality every month. And we have already more than 3 million hours of video viewed in Oculus and Gear VR. Now, this is more closer to the future, the higher-end version, where the level of immersiveness, the tracking, is even more advanced. And I hope that a lot of you has already had a chance to experience this or the other devices that are out there at the same level of fidelity. But this is just the beginning. And actually, the hardware part of virtual reality, even though it's difficult, there are so many skilled minds in the world that know how to make things smaller, make things cheaper, make things lighter, not the least here in Taiwan. And I'm confident that we will soon get to ski goggle size, sunglass size, and who knows, even contact lenses over time for these experiences. Now, just viewing the world in virtual reality is not going to be enough. It will be so compelling and so real that you will want to interact with that world. You will want to touch objects, make objects, create things with your hands, just as we do in the real world. If you think about it, we walk around day to day, we always see our hands, and we're used to be able to stretch out our hand to move and touch things and create things. Now, we're replicating this in virtual reality with these touch controllers that are going to be launched later this year. Over time, these will be even smaller, maybe like gloves. Maybe we won't even need anything in our hands anymore over time. But interacting with the virtual world will be extremely exciting. Now, when I talk about the virtual world, capturing the real world and bringing it into virtual reality is a key aspect. We have these cameras on stage. Facebook has also developed this 360-degree, extremely high-resolution camera. We've made and we are making the blueprints of this device, this camera, available to everyone under open source. And that is the spirit, I feel, of what's going on here. We are all collectively, as mankind, pushing these technologies forward. But it's yet unknown how far we will go and how quickly this will happen, but it will happen. Let me show you some examples of the kind of videos and experiences that we can produce already in virtual reality. You can experience this even today if you log on to Facebook and you look for 360 or VR videos. You can already post 360-degree videos to Facebook, and they are massively popular. We're seeing a lot of engagement with these videos, even on their phones. Imagine what will be the case once everyone has a VR headset. Now, if you're out surfing before, you were not really able to show the full experience of what it is like. A lot of us saw Elon Musk's presentation, so maybe one day we'll be able to be on Mars like this and see this with our own eyes. But before we can, will be able to at least view it through the robots or sender ahead in 360 degrees VR. Now, this is still very early days. If you look at the kind of graphics that Digital Domain is able to produce, you can imagine where this will end up. This is called Toybox. This is a demo that we built to give people a sense of how it is to work together and play together in virtual reality. It is extremely immersive, even though these blue avatar figures are very simple. I've spent a lot of time in this demo. And after you've spent time with someone in VR doing things, you both have a shared memory of that you've been there together. It's in your brain as if it truly happened in real life. It is extraordinary, and it's extremely powerful. And everybody deserves to try it and experience it. Imagine how it will be to be in school and have a chemistry lesson where you don't have to worry about the consequences of what you're mixing together. Or imagine a history lesson where you'll be able to go to ancient Rome and really feel like you're there and see what happens. Imagine how much easier it will be to learn things if you can actually experience them rather than just read about them. This is what virtual reality will bring to us. Now, we have started working on something called social VR, and this is an early example of what that might look like. Now, again, imagine 10 times the more powerful graphic. Imagine 10 times the more realistic avatars. Taking selfies in VR. When I was a young teenager, I was sitting in my childhood bedroom back in Stockholm. I'm from Sweden. You can probably hear that I have an accent. And I connected to the internet for the first time. I was using a very slow modem connected to a computer with a low-resolution screen. And I was really interested in video games. I was a kid. I still am interested in video games, but that's beside the matter. And I logged into something called Internet Relay Chat. A lot of you here have probably tried that in the early days of the internet. This was before browsers. And I logged into channels chatting with people about these video games. And only then I realized that these are people from all over the world. There were people with .tw addresses. There were people with .fi addresses from Finland and Taiwan and elsewhere. But what I noticed is that I truly felt emotionally and intellectually connected to these people. Which country they were from didn't really matter. We had something in common, and we connected together in a space that was just ours. Now, that was just white text on a black background. Can you imagine what it is going to be like to be in a shared space, creating something together with an artist, or playing music with other musicians from all over the world? Low latency, high quality graphic, virtual reality is going to revolutionize the way we can connect with each other. So when you heard about Facebook having Oculus join the Facebook family, a lot of people thought, what does this have to do with Facebook? Well, it has everything to do with Facebook. We're here to do whatever it takes to bring the technologies together to allow everyone and anyone to share anything with anyone in the world. If we can connect the next billions of people, develop the next generation of AI, VR, and over time AR, where you can mix reality with the virtual reality, we're going to accomplish that, and it's going to change mankind in a positive way, I'm convinced. I'm a strong believer in technology. I'm a strong believer in international partnerships to realize these cutting-edge things. And we're going to create that reality together. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you to Mr. John Lagerling, Facebook Vice President.